ain't nothing. Yeah, if it ain't love, it ain't nothing.
Peace and power to the true and living. What's good, family? This is CBornNacirfaSun, and I am you. Yo, I'm excited to be coming at you with yet another powerful video. This is Reflections of a Higher Consciousness. Yo, today's video is about the standard, the one and only standard. But before we get into that, I want to announce that I finally have my merchandise store up and running. I wear these IMU shirts everywhere I go, and I always get a lot of questions about it, get compliments. People always ask me, what does that mean? IMU, what does that mean? So I used to make and sell these shirts, but I don't have as much time as I used to have, and there's a lot that goes into making and selling these. So I just went ahead and I made it available online for those who would like to cop and support the merchandise. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about Conscious by Design and the IMU brands, because this is not, about me just making something to sell to you to make money. This is much deeper than that. Conscious by Design, the idea behind that name is we have to be very intentional about standing and living in the light of God. We have to be intentional about serving God, and not be afraid of it, and not try to hide it. We have to be very intentional about that. And because when we are intentional, then it will manifest throughout our daily life and so forth, the way we think, the way we are behaving, the way we are treating other people and so forth. Conscious by design, meaning that we have to be intentional about the things that we are doing. We have to be intentional about being good. You know what I mean? And the IMU, the idea behind that is IMU is a deeper and more intimate way of saying I love you. And there's a law in creation that says, what you do for other people, what you do to other people, in reality, you're really doing to yourself. That's how deeply connected we are. So we are one. And that's what love is. Love is the oneness of life. So when you say you love someone, what you are telling them is that I realize that you are this. I see no difference in between the life that you are and the life that I am. So I'm going to honor the life that you are, as just as I'm going to honor and respect the life that I am and so forth. And when you realize that you are me and I am you, then does anybody have to tell you not to harm this person, not to steal from this person, not to lie to this person, and so forth. So it goes a lot deeper. It goes a lot deeper, but just wanted to kind of throw that out there, the meaning behind the brand. So I have one design available so far, but there will be more designs coming out in the very near future. All right, but anyways, that's enough of that. I just want to take a little time to talk about that. But let's get into this in today's video. The standard, the one and only standard. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I've had so many conversations with people, and I realize that, as human beings, we have our problems. We all have our problems. I have my own, problems in my personal life, and I'm pretty sure you have your own problems in your personal life and so forth. But the thing that really saddens me is that we make things so hard. We make things so complicated, far more complicated than it needs to be. In seeking, because we all have problems, and of course we're going to seek various ways to solve those problems, because that's the natural thing to do when you have a problem, especially when it's something that is having such an effect on your life. Naturally, you look for a solution. You try to find a way to solve this problem. But the thing that saddens me is that in In seeking the solution for our problems, I just see so many people stumble and go left and propagate the problem because we miss the simple solution that is right in front of us. The simple solution that has always been there from day one. And we seek various means to solve our problems, you know? And the thing about it is not even so much that the means that we're taking, are not good or healthy. Some of them are, but the thing about it is, as long as you're lacking the standard, as long as you're lacking that standard, because the standard is the foundation, as long as you're lacking that, then you will never truly arrive at where you need to arrive at, right? So as a result, our problems, the problem of our lives, persist because we have lost sight of the standard, the one and only standard, right? We have lost sight of that. So what is this standard that I'm talking about, right? The standard that I'm talking about here is God, right? So the problems in our lives persist because we have lost sight of the standard. And we are seeking other things that we think will bring about the solutions that we're looking for, and not realizing that the standard is the solution, and that standard is God. So in this video, we're going to dive deep into that, because as always, you can't just say, oh, well, the answer to all your problems is God. That doesn't tell anybody anything. You got to go a little deeper than that. And this is one thing that I love about the Grail message, because the Grail message always tells us the how, the why, and the how, right? So let's dive deeper into that. What I mean by that, you know, and the thing about it is, you know, due to our overcultivation of the intellect in neglecting to develop ourselves spiritually, we come to look at, like, for example, when somebody say God, we come to look at that very superficially. You know, we come to look at it superficially, and therefore we don't really gain what we can really gain from that. So let's talk about let's dive deeper into what I mean by the standard. Why do we make things so hard? Why must it be so complicated? Right? For some reason, it seems like we don't like simplicity. It's like things just have to be hard in order for it to have some kind of a value, for us. We don't like simplicity. I guess simplicity is beneath us. But the problem with that is that the solution is really basic. It's really basic and simple. You know, the solution to all our problems in our personal lives and the problem in the world is really basic and simple. And as I mentioned, that solution is the standard, which is God, right? And the way you must look at it is, you must look at it like this. You must look at it like this. Where did I come from? Right? I know that I just didn't pop into existence out of thin air. You know? I know that that's not how it happened. I know that someone created me, right? And when I look at life, when I look out into nature, into the universe, I see that everything has a purpose. Everything is serving some kind of a purpose. Even the damn mosquitoes that we don't like, the roaches that we don't like, you know, the ants that bug the shit out of us. They're all serving a purpose. They're all doing some kind of work, right? So when you look at all of this, the simplest and natural thought is that something created all this, right? This thing that I'm looking at, life, creation, cannot just pop into existence out of thin air. This perfect organization, these perfect laws that I see, this perfect order, right? All of this power and magnificence, this beauty, there had to be some kind of a power, some kind of an intelligent mind behind this, right? And remember, we're going back to the very basics, right? But follow me here. So all that, including myself, including humanity, because we are a part of that, right? We had to come, something had to create us. I mean, look at the fact that, just look at the development of the body alone, right? You start off as a little, as a sperm that unites with an egg, that creates a body, you know, that grows and develops and goes through many stages, right? That body grows, it goes from a little dot to a full-fledged human being, a conscious being, right? When you cut your freaking skin, there's an intelligence, there's a consciousness in there that knows how to heal the skin. There's a power in there. You don't even have to do anything. It will heal itself. When you cut your hair, it grows. Right? And mind you, I'm talking about normal, natural circumstances here. But this is what we see. And all this cannot just come out of nothing and out of nowhere. It had to come from some kind of an intelligent life, some kind of an intelligent and powerful mind. Right? So that's the basic. And we know that intelligent, you know, that someone, that something, that intelligent mind, that intelligent life that is responsible for all of this, including ourselves, right? We call God. God the Creator. Right? Now I hope you're still with me here. Right? God the Creator. So if God is the Creator, and I see that God creates everything, that everything that God created serves some kind of a purpose, has some kind of a work to do, that also must apply to me. Right? So I must also have some kind of a purpose. I must also have some kind of a work to do. There's a reason why God created me along with all these other things. There's a reason why God created me. There's a reason why my Creator put me here. Right? So what am I? What am I? Right? I am a human being. Most specifically, I'm a man or a woman. Okay. So God created human beings. God created men and women. Okay. So we know that God created everything with a purpose. So what is a purpose, right, that God gave to human beings? What is a man? What is a woman? And what is the purpose that God gave to that creation? Right? What is the purpose? Right? That's how we start in talking about understanding life and being able to solve all these problems that we are experiencing in our personal lives. That's where we start at. Okay, so God created human beings, God created men, and God created women, and I know that I'm a man, and I know that God created everything with a purpose, right? Everything has some kind of a task that it must fulfill. So what is a task that a man must fulfill? What is God's will for a man? Being that I'm a man, what is God's will for a man? Right? And I see that when I look at nature, when I look at creation, I see that when everything is fulfilling its purpose, right? All its needs are met. When everything is living in its purpose, all its needs are met, right? And not just that all its needs are met, but it contributes to some kind of a bigger picture, right? It contributes to the well-being of the larger whole, right? So I see that there is some kind of a reward, some kind of an enjoyment, right? In walking in fulfilling your God-given purpose, right? So being that I'm a man created by God and I have a purpose, what is this purpose? And am I serving this purpose? Am I living in the light of God? Right? Am I doing that? See, this is the standard. This is the foundation. This is how basic you have to get. Because what else is there besides the Creator who created you, who is responsible for your life? What else is there? When you're talking about, solving the problems in your life, when you're talking about improving your life, making your life better, making your life more joyful and more happy, what else is there besides God? And I know that it may sound basic and so basic that you may not really soak and understand what I'm talking about here. That's how simple it is. But think about this. What else is there besides God? What else is there besides the one who created all this? So I know that if I'm having some kind of an issue, right? Because when I look at everything else in nature, it's like there's just this perfect harmony. Everything just falls into place. So if I look at my life and I see an absence of that harmony, and I see that things are not falling into place, and I see all this friction, right? Then something is wrong. Right? Something is wrong. So how then can I fix this thing that's wrong? Right? Where else can you turn besides God? What else is there? Right? So now I see that there's this friction in my life. There's a disharmony that's causing pain and suffering. Right? I don't see the peace and harmony of nature. There's this disharmony. How? Well, first of all, how is this possible? Right? What's causing this disharmony? What's causing all this pain? Right? And how can I get rid of it? How can I get rid of it? And the question I'm asking to you is, how can you get rid of it without God? What other solution is there in life, in existence, besides God? You see what I'm saying? So we're turning to all these various things, concepts and practices and people, right? And we're straying away from the standard. The standard of life is God, right? That's the standard. I hope you're really understanding what I'm trying to say here, because I know it's very basic, but there is power in this if you can truly soak it and understand it. And that'll save you a lot of time, because people do so many things in trying to solve the problems that they have in life, or trying to make their life more fulfilling, more enriching, right? We try so many things, and we neglect the one thing that has always been there, which is God, the Creator, the one that is responsible for this life in the first place, right? So the question is, why? Why do we turn away from the one and only standard? Why do we turn away from the one and only solution? Right? Let's dive into some of this. Let's talk about the failure and the deception, right? Because naturally, what you need to understand is, when you look at people and you look at a lot of these things that they're doing, even the chaos that's in people's life, right? What you have to understand is this: naturally, right, within the human spirit, there is a longing for God. There's a longing for the Creator. This is natural within the human spirit, right? There's a longing for the Creator. And it is this longing, right, that when you reach a certain age, that leads you in so many different directions in life, that leads us in various directions in life, right? But the problem is that today in our society, in our world, because of the fall of man, right, because of our acceptance of Luciferian ideas and principles, right, this longing has become corrupted, right? So the longing is still there, but it's become corrupted. It's become disguised to where now you're longing after silly material things, right? As opposed to longing for the Creator, right? And then we see all the disasters that is created, because at the end of the day, the spirit is longing for God, its Creator, right? And that longing is always going to be there and will never be satisfied until it finds a connection with God, until it returns to its Creator. That longing is always going to be there and is never going to go away. So now what happens is that the longing becomes corrupted and it is disguised, right? So now you start longing and start going after other things. And even after you find those things, right, you may be happy for a second, but in due time, the longing returns. You want something. You can't put a name on it. You can't put words on it. But your soul, your spirit just wants something. So it spurs you on again, and you go looking for something else, right? That's because that natural longing of God is innate within the human spirit, right? But what happens is that the Luciferians, due to the fall of man, because we have accepted this, the Luciferians have corrupted the longing for God within us. So instead of looking for God, we go looking for a whole bunch of other things, right? And to the Luciferians, it doesn't matter. As long as we're not longing after God, it doesn't matter what we go looking after, as long as we're not looking for God, or as long as we're not finding God. You know what I'm saying? But this longing is there, right? So let's talk about the failure and the deception. The failure of religion and the deception of this new age movement, this new age spiritual movement that started a very long time ago, you know. And this lady, was it Ann Bailey or Alice Bailey, right? She was one of the first people to start writing about this, new age thing. She was one of the first people to start saying start using the term new age. But what people need to understand is that this was a very strategic thing, right? And it was a part of the Luciferian deception. It was not an accident that all of a sudden you have all this, all these people coming out talking about new age and all these different things, which are not really different things. They're just recycled, they're just the old things recycled, right? So let's talk about the failure and deception. The failure of religion, because the thing about it is, and remember, I talked about this longing for God, right? That is natural and innate within the human spirit. So for thousands of years, people have put their faith into religions and religious leaders, right? In order to lead them to God, in order to, satisfy this longing, fulfill this longing of God, right? The people have put their faith into into their various religions for thousands of years. But now, what has happened for a very long time is that the religions have failed the people, right? So then, the Luciferians, seeing this, because they're the ones orchestrating all these things, they're the ones, guiding us along these lines, seeing that the people are, gradually gotten tired of religion and are gradually, getting away from religion, right? If you look at the numbers today as compared to before, the number of religious adherents is not as much as it used to be, right? So seeing that people were getting tired of the religions, failing them, and not really, quenching this longing for God, they left the religion and started looking for something else. And bang, they already, these Luciferians already had this new age thing ready, right? Right? So they had this new age thing ready as the answer for this innate spiritual longing that is within the human being. They answered it with this new age spiritual movement that came with all these different ideas and concepts and practices and so forth, right? That was that was what they gave to the people. And the thing about this new age thing, this new age movement, it is very deceptive. And I believe I made a video about this before. It is very deceptive, right? And this is why the Grail message is so important, because the Grail message helps us to understand the laws of God. And when you understand the laws of God, then you can see a lot of the deception that is carefully woven within this new age movement. But this new age movement does not lead people to God, right? It doesn't lead people to God at all, right? Instead, what it does is it leads people to this idea of self-God, right? I can do what God does. I'm God, And that's why you have people with names like Charlemagne the God and things like that, right? So it leads people to that idea, or it leads people to the universe, right? Oh, we must thank the universe, It leads people to the idea that the universe is God, right? Or it leads to this idea of source, right? Excuse me. Or it leads to Elohim, right? Or it leads to Ma'at, right? Or it leads to, the various Egyptian teachings and so forth, right? But it'll lead people to everything except God, the Creator, which is what the spirit is innately longing for. It leads people to everything except for that, right? It also leads people to things like yoga and meditation, right? And the thing about these things is that, and I'm not even saying that there's absolutely no value in these things. That's not even what I'm saying, right? Because there is a lot of truth contained within these things. And that's the thing that attracts people, that hauls people in, right? But there are carefully placed lies and errors in there also. Because the Luciferians who orchestrate these things, they know that as long as there are lies, right? As long as people are, living according to these lies and errors, they can never really spiritually ascend. There's a ceiling to the level of spiritual ascension that they can accomplish. So therefore, the people can remain down here, right? So that they can be used by these Luciferians. It's very, very carefully placed in there. So yes, a lot of these things, all these things that I just mentioned, yes, there's truth in them. There's value there. But there's also lies and errors in there, right? And that shit goes deep, right? And I believe I've talked about this before. So that's the deception of this new age spiritual movement, right? It's the truth mixed with a lot of lies and errors. And it doesn't really, see, it makes people feel like, it's leading them to God, or they're becoming more spiritual, right? Without actually doing that, right? That's the great deception here. Because you can't honestly and truly accomplish spiritual growth and development without God as the foundation and the standard, right? So this is why a lot of people search far and wide for the solution to their various problems, and they never find it because they lost sight of the standard. God is the standard, right? God is the solution. God is the foundation. So all these various, practices and things that come with the New Age movement, they're absolutely useless if God is not the standard and foundation, right? So this is why the Grail message is so important, because the Grail message is the only source that is the complete knowledge of creation, right? Without the lies and the errors. The 1931 edition of the Grail message, right? But see, it's hard to tell people these things because, as I mentioned earlier, the failure of religion have led people away from God and have led them into the arms of this New Age movement, which strategically leads them away from God, right? So now it becomes hard to give people the only real solution to all their problems in their lives. It becomes extremely difficult to do that. So I find myself in conversation with people all the time, and they're talking about the various things that they're going through in life, right? And the various means that they're taking to, alleviate and solve these problems. And unfortunately, God is never a part of the conversation. God is never part of the solution. Most of the time, he's not. And when he is a part of the solution, it's some kind of a twisted and distorted and false idea of God that they have, right? So when God is the solution, it's a lie about God that people are holding on to, right? Or he's not the solution, right? And this is what I'm seeing all the time when I'm talking to people, and it's so sad because I'm like, damn, man. It's a really simple solution. It really is, right? And just because it's a simple solution, it doesn't mean that the experience, right, the application of the solution, it doesn't mean that it's going to come without pain and strain and and challenges and so forth. No, no, no pain, no gain, as it says in life. No, the solution is simple, but the experience may be very difficult and very challenging. And sometimes this is why a lot of people stray away from the simple solution of God, right? Because it is a simple solution, but a lot of people find that when they begin to practice, that, it's not as easy. It's challenging. They find that they fall, right? So then they forget about it altogether, right? And that's some of the reason why this new age movement is so appealing. It's so easy to accept because you know, it comes with a lot of these ideas that, because when you remove God as the standard, right, then people feel like you can do whatever, right? I don't really know how to explain the point I'm trying to make here. It's like I can't find the words to explain it, but when you remove God as the standard, it's like it turns there. That's like an off switch in people's conscience. When God is removed as a standard, that's an off switch, right? That leads people in all these different in all these various directions except for God, right? And then when you say God, when you offer God to them as a solution, then they have these various rebuttals and arguments and things like that. Well, that's your belief of God, and that's your religion, and that's your cousin, and so forth, right? And it's not to say those things are not valid, right? But it's just sad because it keeps them from really being able to receive the only thing that can really help them in the problems that they're dealing with, right? We have, through our various beliefs and customs, we have created these concepts, and these concepts have created, this wall has put us in this bubble that makes it very difficult for any light to penetrate into our conscience, because these beliefs that we hold is, they're so firm, you know. So a lot of people involved in their various practices, you know, believe that that's the solution and will not look to anything else. But God is the standard. You know what I mean? And I have a hold on, give me a second here. I have a theory that I want to share with you. And I arrived at this theory through a very powerful experience that I have. Going back to this question of why do we make it so hard, right? Why do we make it so hard? I have an interesting answer to that question, and I want to share that with you. And hopefully it can serve you in some way, right? But I had some years ago, I had a very powerful out of body experience. And I've been having out of body experiences ever since I was a kid. I remember it started happening ever since after my mother passed away, but I've had various out of body experiences ever since I was a kid. But some years ago, I had a very, 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 very powerful experience. And through that experience, I arrived at this very powerful truth that I want to share with you here. Right? So, the experience, let's talk about the experience first, and then I'll share with you the very powerful message, that I got from this. So, I had this out of body experience that was very scary, very profound, very enlightening, very peaceful, all at the same time. Right? So in this experience, I felt myself, right? Literally, I felt myself as one with everything, right? I felt myself as one with everything. Like there was absolutely no difference between my, you know, personal existence. There was no difference between that than the existence of a tree or, other people around me. There was absolutely no difference in between. As far as I could tell, I I could not tell the difference. I felt myself literally one with everything. Right. So going back to this idea, to this concept of I am you, right? These are some of the experiences that birth that whole that brand of I am you. But in that experience, I literally felt myself as one with everything, right? And I remember saying to myself in that experience, I remember saying to myself, "Oh, I was like, wow, this is the power of life, right?" And that's what I kept saying to myself after this experience. I was like, man, I experienced the power of life for the very first time. Like that out of body experience right there, that was the power of life. And that was so overwhelming. That was so powerful. Right? Like I said, I was literally one with everything. And it was so freaking powerful that everything, every problem in my life that I could think of literally disintegrated and dissolved. It's like the things that we call problems and issues literally could not exist in that presence. They just dissolve automatically right away. Right? That's how powerful this thing that I felt within myself was. I literally felt the disintegration of every single problem, every single issue, right? And there was this feeling of just peace at the deepest level, right? Just peace and contentment at the very deepest level, you know? And that's what I was saying earlier, that this is literally the power of life. I felt the power of life for the very first time, right? And the funny thing about that is that all these things I'm saying to you, this experience, it was so powerful. So even though that it came with this really deep feeling of peace and contentment, right? This power was so overwhelming that it scared the shit out of me. Like literally, I was so afraid because I felt this power inside of me. And the power was so freaking much. And even though I felt peace in that moment, in the instant dissolving of all my problems, I was so overwhelmed and so afraid that I wanted to escape that power. And mind you, there was no threat here. There was no danger here. But I wanted to escape that power. I was like, get me out of here now. You know? That's how powerful this out of body experience was. I wanted to escape it because it was so powerful. Right? Even though it was so enlightening. Right? Even though I felt so free. Even though I felt absolutely one with everything. No threat, no danger. Just a deep understanding. I felt that. But it was so much, it was so deeply overwhelming that it scared me. And I realized that I couldn't handle it. I was like, it's too much. And I was like, I don't want it. Get it away from me. Right? So in that moment where I was like, I don't want this, get it away from me, that's when I made of this very powerful realization that I want to share with you. Because in that moment, I said to myself, I don't care how hard my life is. I don't care how shitty my life is. I don't care how many problems I'm dealing with. Like, I don't care what the problem is in my life. I would rather go back to that hardship than to continue to exist here in this power. Right? And you may think that's crazy, but that's the realization I came to. Because I was literally saying to myself, I want to go back. I want to get out of here. I don't want to feel this power anymore. I don't care how painful my life is. I don't care how shitty my life is. I don't care what I've been through in life. Right? I'd rather go and deal with that pain, of that shittiness, whatever it is. I'd rather go and deal with that hardship, whatever it is. I'd rather go and deal with that than to live in this power for one more second. I'd rather go and deal with that. Right? And it was in that moment that I came to the powerful realization that that's the reason why we go through all the hardships that we go through in life, all the pain and suffering and sorrow and stress and depression and illness and you name it. That's the reason why we go through all those things in life. That's the reason why you're going through all those things in your life, regardless of what it is. Regardless of what kind of a torment, what kind of a pain it is, that the reason why you're going through that pain in your life is because you are not ready to come to terms with the power of life, with the power of God that is within you. You are not ready to come to terms with that yet. You're not ready to accept that yet. Right? It's much easier for you to struggle in your various problems in life on this earth, regardless of what it is, regardless of how painful it is. Even if you're hopping around with one leg, even if you're starving to death, right? Even if you have a terminal illness, it's much easier for you to deal with that than it is for you to come to terms and to accept the power of life, the power of God that is within you. You're not ready for that yet, right? So we have to take the long way to that, because eventually we have to come to terms with this power, right? Eventually we have to, but we have to take the longer route to that, and the longer route is the various problems that we face in our lives, the various pain and suffering, the various torment. That's the longer route to coming to terms and acceptance of this power of God that is within you, right? So I can understand, I don't agree with it, but I can understand why so many people gravitate towards everything else. Why so many people gravitate towards yoga and meditation and ma'at and where's my list? Into Elohim and to the universe, or to self God, and to all these various concepts and ideas and practices, I can see why people gravitate towards those things and neglect the one and only standard, which has always been there. Is because it's just easier. It's just easier, right? Humanity is not ready for God. We have strayed so far away from our Creator, right? That life, right? Because right now, as we're not really experiencing life, right? Because that experience that I had, that I described to you earlier, about how I felt myself as literally one with everything, right? So much so that when I came from out of that experience, from out of that out of body experience, when I came from out of that, I was literally hugging everybody that I came across. Not just hugging, I mean fully embracing, with tears in my eyes, right? I was just embracing everyone with tears in my eyes, right? That right there, that's the power of life. We're not ready for that yet, because we have allowed Lucifer to stray us so far away from our Creator. And remember, God is life. We have allowed Lucifer to stray us so far away from life that now the actual power and experience of life is completely foreign to us. And not only is it foreign, but it's very scary to us, right? So much so that we rather, take the long and painful road, right? We rather sit and pretend that we can solve all the problems of our life and solve all the problems of the world, right, without God, right? So we rather take the long road and pretend that we can do that. We can solve all these problems in our life and in the world without our Creator, right? That's a silly game that we're playing with ourselves. And that's because we have strayed so far away from life that life is completely foreign to us. Real life is completely foreign to us. And when it presents itself in all its power and glory, we reject it. We reject it and cling on to, our stones. We reject the bread and cling on to our stones. You know what I mean? That's why we're not ready. You know what I mean? But with the coming of the judgment, we no longer have a choice. We have to be ready for this, because this is a stage that we should have reached a long time ago. This power that I'm talking about, we should have reached this stage a long time ago, where we have been experiencing and living within this power, right? Because that's the power that allow us to do all these things that you would think are supernatural things that are impossible for human beings to do. We should have reached that stage a long time ago. So with the coming of the judgment, we no longer have a choice, and we don't have the time that we think we have. Humanity is going to have to grow and develop under some very harsh conditions. We're going to have to reach this level, this stage of evolution under some very harsh conditions. You know what I mean? But look, man, you can search far and wide, travel the 7 seas, travel the 7 different parts of the universe, read every book, there is to read, besides the Grail message. You can do all those things. But at the end of the day, humanity will have no choice but to return to its Creator. God is the standard of life. Whatever it is you're trying to do in life, God is the standard. Whatever it is you're trying to achieve, God is the standard. Whatever problem you're trying to solve, God is the standard. The Alpha and the Omega, everything begins and ends with the Creator. Why do we make things so hard? That's the one and only standard, is God. Right? So you can do all these things, but without that foundation, without the standard, it's useless. You're wasting your time. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I need to go ahead and stop this video. Let me put this stain away for a second because I'm taking all this in. It's giving me a headache right now. You know what I mean? I'm creating this thing for the Liberian Independence Day that is coming up. So this right here, I'm not done with it yet, but I'm almost done with it. But this is one that I'm working on right now. And I've created a lot of pieces like this, and I find like these pieces, they always sell when I create them. So yeah. Almost done with this one, not quite yet. And there's others that I'm working on. All right. So with that being said, don't forget to check out the merch. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So from now on, the link for my merchandise store is gonna be in all the videos, in the description of all the videos. So click on the description and check it out. So you can cop the merchandise, support the work, and so forth, and be an inspiration and a reminder to others out there. You know what I'm saying? Because it says through their works you shall know them. So be an inspiration and be a reminder to others out there as well. You know what I mean? Is there anything else that I'm forgetting? I'm pretty sure there's always more things that I could say, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop it here, man. Remember, man, God is the standard. We try to put everything else over God, and it just doesn't work. And this is the reason why that was the very first commandment that was given to us. The very first commandment says, "You shall have no God but me. You shall put nothing, no one over me." That was the very first commandment that was given to us. And that's a commandment that human beings have strayed away from in so many ways. It's brought about all these problems, right? But that's a simple solution. God is the standard. First commandment. You know what I mean? So with that being said, let me put this thing away over here, because I don't want to be inhaling those fumes while we are praying. So with that being said, let us pray. Dear God, dear mighty Creator, Father of creation, Creator of the universe, Giver of life, we thank you. We thank you for all that you are, and we thank you for all that you are not. We thank you for the opportunity of this life. We thank you for making us a part of your creation and giving us the opportunity to live and experience this creation and contribute to this creation. We thank you for that. We thank you for not leaving us alone in the darkness. We thank you for offering us the light of your word. We thank you for the relentless attempts to give us the light of your word. And we thank you that with all the darkness that persists today, that the word, that the light is still here. We thank you for that. We thank you for the opportunity, Father. We thank you. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to stand in the light in thy creation, and know of thee, O Creator of the universe. We know of thy infinite wisdom and goodness, of thy everlasting might and inexhaustible power. Worshipping, we raise our hands and beseech thee, Lord, let thy great goodness and mercy be upon us. Amen. We cannot thank God enough, family. Cannot thank God enough. Peace and power to the true and living. This is CBornNacirfaSun, and I am you.
If it ain't love, it ain't nothing. Yeah. If it ain't